by hand. Ink on parchment, symbols pressed into clay, lines etched for sailors and kings. Maps were more than directions. They were declarations of what we knew, what we guessed, and what we believed. Some of those ancient charts seem impossibly advanced. Others mix myth with measurement, but taken together, they reveal something profound. Humanity has always reached beyond the edge of the known. These are ancient maps that, controversially, wonderfully, reshaped how we see the Earth. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis compiled a world map on gazelle skin. He said he drew from many sources: Arab navigators, Portuguese charts, and older works that had already crossed oceans. On his parchment, the western coast of Africa stands firm, the eastern shore of South America curls like a bow, and at the bottom edge lies a mystery, an icy, jagged coast some claim resembles Antarctica. That claim remains debated. Scholars argue whether the shape is coincidence, an artistic flourish, or a distorted echo of southern lands. Yet the precision elsewhere is undeniable. Latitudes align, shorelines hold their form. The map feels like a conversation across centuries, where lost charts whisper through a sailor's hand. Whether or not it shows Antarctica, it tells a truer story. Knowledge moves. It survives shipwrecks and empires. It gathers, layer by layer, until one person dares to stitch it all together. Travel back 2 millennia to Mesopotamia, where the Babylonians pressed a vision of Earth into a clay tablet, now called the Imago Mundi. The world, circular, rests within a cosmic river. Babylon sits near the center. Mountains ring the land. 7 distant regions lie beyond the circle, places of marvel, danger, or divinity. It is not a navigator's chart. It is a worldview mapped in symbols, the heavens mirrored on earth, order imposed on mystery. And yet, even in its simplicity, it marks a turning point. To draw a boundary around the world is to believe the world can be known. The tablet is small, the ambition enormous. On silk in 14th century China, scholars created the Ming Hun Yi Tu, the great unified map of the Ming Empire. A single sweeping image presents Asia in commanding detail, but also reaches far. Africa's contours appear with striking confidence. Europe's peninsulas hint at lands well beyond the usual horizon.
Coordinates clearly indicate this
How
mountain
did such
range,
knowledge arrive?
but the coastline here
Through
doesn't match the
caravans
ancient
and sailors,
texts. We must
envoys
verify
and
the meridian line
translators,
first.
a network we now call the Silk Road. The map does not claim conquest, it displays comprehension. Rivers run like veins, mountains rise as ordered ridges. It is a tapestry of reporting and careful synthesis, a quiet triumph of curiosity over distance. Sail northwest across the centuries to a different problem, a scrap of parchment that set academia on fire. The Vinland Map surfaced in the 20th century, seemingly a medieval chart labeling a western land across the Atlantic. Vinland, suggesting that Europeans knew of North America long before Columbus. From the start, controversy followed. Chemical tests, paleography, and provenance studies argued back and forth. Forgery or genuine? The debate persists in specialized circles, but archaeology has already revealed Norse presence at Lance O Meadows in Newfoundland. The broader truth remains. The ocean was never an absolute wall. Wind, wood, and will carried people farther than the neat timelines of school books once allowed. The Vinland Map, whether authentic or not, forced us to ask better questions about who arrived, who stayed, and who drew the story. In Venice around 1450, a monk and cartographer named Fra Mauro produced a masterpiece that feels both medieval and modern. His circular map places south at the top, upending our usual orientation, and fills the surface with tens of thousands of words. He cites travelers, weighs claims, and annotates coasts with a scholar's caution. The detail along Africa is remarkable, anticipating discoveries that sailors would confirm decades later. Fra Mauro's map is less a picture than a mind at work. Evidence weighed, rumors parked, possibilities noted. It shows a world in motion and a cartographer honest about uncertainty. In those neat script lines, we glimpse the dawning of a scientific habit. Check the source, note the limits, map what can be defended.
2 centuries earlier in Sicily,
Under a Norman king who welcomed scholars from across cultures, the geographer Al-Idrisi created the Tabula Rogeriana. Compiled in 1154, it brings together Islamic scholarship, Greek tradition, African reports, and first-hand observation. The world stretches across 70 sectional maps, south again at the top, cities and trade routes stitched like threads in a merchant's ledger. From China's markets to the Atlantic's shoals, from the Nile's bends to Spain's fortified ports, Idrisi's vision is broader than borders. It is a logistics map for an interconnected world long before we used that phrase. A practical guide for people who move ideas as readily as goods. But ancient maps blend science with story in ways we must read carefully. Consider the Hereford Mappamundi in England, a 13th century world drawn as theology and geography at once. Jerusalem glows at the center. Eden and creatures from legend occupy the margins. To modern eyes, it seems fanciful. Yet behind the saints and monsters lie real roots, real rivers, real cities. Medieval viewers did not separate meaning and measurement the way we do. A map could be a prayer and a plan, a moral diagram and a merchant's aid. The edge of the known world was not empty. It was holy, haunted, and waiting. Far to the east, Korean and Japanese map traditions layered their own symmetries and priorities. Capitals enlarged as hearts of administration, mountains rendered as disciplined spines, seas dotted with islands that mattered to sailors more than to scholars. In the Islamic world, Portoland charts exploded in utility, rum lines crisscrossing seas, coastal profiles etched for pilots who trusted sightlines and compasses more than royal decrees. The closer we look, the more we see that maps were tools. Their power lay in the problems they solved. Even errors teach. Mercator's projection in the 16th century stretched Greenland to monstrous size, a distortion that still lingers in classrooms. Yet it preserved angles, making it revolutionary for navigation. Straight lines on paper matched constant compass bearings at sea. Gebhard von Moll's globes, Waldseemüller's daring use of the name America, TO diagrams that sliced the world into 3 sacred parts. All of these remind us that mapping is a conversation between need and knowledge, math and myth. We inherit not just their accuracy, but their intentions. So what do these ancient maps really show? A few likely reached farther than we expect. Several compiled information from many cultures much earlier than our tidy timelines suggest. Some are devotional, some commercial, some political. A very small number are fakes or flawed copies of better work now lost. But taken together, they reveal a pattern. Information moves faster than armies, and memory survives in margins. Even when the coastline is wrong, the curiosity is right, and that is what propulsion looks like on parchment. Stand for a moment with a sailor in a candlelit cabin, compass ticking, hull groaning, chart pinned under a weathered hand. Landfalls live as inked triangles, winds as scribbled notes. The world is not a globe yet. It is a set of instructions, a promise that if you hold this line, keep this bearing, and trust these marks, you might find morning where the chart says you will. Now step into a scriptorium, where a monk sharpens his quill, compares accounts, and writes a careful, "Here be uncertainty," where his sources waver. Or into a Chinese court, where an official aligns tribute routes, river crossings, and mountain passes into the empire's circulatory map. Different rooms, same desire. to make the Earth legible. Today, satellites lace the planet with detail. We can zoom from the curve of the Earth to the curve of a single street in seconds. But the old questions remain.
The coordinates
What
clearly
lies
indicate this
beyond the
mountain
line
range,
we've drawn?
but the coastline here
What have we
doesn't match
overlooked
the ancient
because our
texts.
projection
We must
prefers
verify the
one
meridian
truth
line
over
first.
another? The ancient maps answer in their own way. They say, there is always more than you can see from here. Move, ask, compare, draw again. Some charts we've named still spark arguments about authorship, about accuracy, about what counts as evidence. That's good. Debate is proof that the past is alive. Piri Reis, the Imago Mundi, the Ming Hun Yi Tu, the Vinland Map, Fra Mauro, the Tabula Rogeriana, each represents a different solution to the same problem. How to hold the world steady long enough to share it. None is perfect. All are invaluable. Together, they chart the history of attention. So when you next unroll an old map, on a screen or in a museum, look past the stains and cracks, see the decisions. Which city is too large and why? Which sea is too smooth and for whom? Which margin hides a note from a traveler long gone? You are reading a record of courage and caution, triumph and error. You are feeling the edge of the known with people who refuse to stop there. We live in an age of perfect outlines and endless coordinates, but our best maps still begin the way the earliest did, with a human need to connect one place to another and a leap of faith that the line we draw will get us there. The ancients drew those lines first. They did not map the world as it is. They mapped the world as they discovered it, piece by fragile piece. And because they did, we can see farther now. This is MapMinded. Let's keep going, past the fold, beyond the margin, toward whatever waits where the paper runs out.